welcome back to the Deep Dive. You know, if you've ever seen a Canadian engineer or maybe a geoscientist wearing this simple ring, kind of plain, on their little finger, you're actually looking at something pretty profound, a really deep ethical commitment.
Yeah, they're definitely not fashion accessories. They're reminders, really, tactile reminders of, well, failure, unfortunately, catastrophic failure in some cases.
Right. We celebrate the big wins, the bridges that stand, the resources found.
Of course. But the iron ring and the earth science ring, too, they exist because the early 20th century especially delivered some really hard lessons.
Lessons about what happens when technical skill isn't matched with, say, ethical judgment, or even just humility.
Precisely. Unchecked confidence, maybe poor judgment. It led to devastating losses. So these rings, they're basically a kind of professional promise, a self-imposed ethical baseline.
Okay, so our mission today, and it's really important if you're studying for the National Professional Practice Examination, the NPPE.
Crucial for the NPPE, yes.
We're going to unpack the origins, the symbolism, and the real ethical weight behind both the iron ring for engineers and the earth science ring for geoscientists.
And show how these vows, which are voluntary, actually connect to and reinforce the code of ethics, which is not voluntary.
Understanding that whole framework, the voluntary and the mandatory, is absolutely key to doing well in the NPPE.
It really is. The symbols represent the why. You know, the values behind the rules you absolutely have to follow.
So look, if you want more deep dives like this one, packed with essential knowledge, strategic insights, really getting into that deep framework you need to, well, conquer the NPPE exam.
Definitely worth your time.
Hit that subscribe button right now. Seriously, we want to help you get properly informed.
Okay.
All right, let's get into the history then. That's where the weight comes from, the iron ring first.
Sounds good. The tradition officially started in 1925, but the date itself isn't the whole story. It's the context.
Which was?
Well, it was established in the shadow of some pretty major engineering failures early in the century. Think collapsing bridges, things like that.
Okay, so public trust must have been shaken.
Severely eroded, yeah. The engineering profession was still relatively young in its modern form, and these failures were a huge blow.
And what's really interesting, you mentioned this wasn't like a government thing, right?
No, not at all. That's what's fascinating. It wasn't legislation. It was the profession itself stepping up. Canadian engineers basically said, we need to fix this from the inside.
A kind of moral course correction.
You could call it that. A way to instill a sense of humility, maybe, and deep professional duty into new graduates right from the start.
So that led to the corporation of the 7 wardens.
Exactly. They were set up specifically to administer this new thing called the ritual of the calling of an engineer.
And the ritual needed words, an actual pledge. And they got Rudyard Kipling to write it. The obligation?
That Rudyard Kipling, yes.
Yeah.
The author of The Jungle Book and Kim.
Wow. Okay, that's unexpected. It tells you they weren't just looking for technical rules.
No, they were looking for something deeper. Someone who could frame the profession in, like, a humanistic, moral sense of duty. Connect the technical work to ethics.
Grounded in something bigger than just physics calculations.
That's a good way to put it. And the ring itself, the physical object, is designed to reinforce that whole ethical idea.
Like where it's worn.
Exactly. Traditionally, it's on the little finger of the working hand.
The hand you use to sign reports, draw plans.
Right. The hand that puts your professional stamp on things.
So every time you do that, every decision, every signature,
you feel the ring. It's a constant physical reminder, a nudge saying, remember the consequences, remember the ethics.
That's quite powerful, actually. And the material matters, too, doesn't it? It's not gold or anything flashy.
Definitely not. Originally, it was apparently made from, like, actual wrought iron, sometimes rumored to be from failed bridges, though that's likely more legend. Now it's usually stainless steel.
But the key is?
The key is it's plain, unpolished, simple. It represents humility, practicality. It's not about prestige or showing off your status.
Okay, so for someone studying for the NPPE, how does this connect to, say, the code of ethics?
It links directly to core concepts like due diligence, competence, public safety. That simple bit of metal is a reminder of your own fallibility.
Makes you pause before you sign off on something maybe you're not fully expert in.
Exactly. It's that little check, am I truly competent here? Has I done my due diligence? It forces that moment of reflection.
That's like an ethical backstop.
And the ritual itself, the ritual of the calling, it's kept private, quite solemn.
Why private?
To emphasize the seriousness, the personal nature of the commitment, and it creates continuity. Senior engineers preside over it, welcoming the new ones.
So it links the generations, like passing a torch.
Yeah, a torch of responsibility. It reinforces that this isn't just a job, it's a collective stewardship of public safety and trust.
So if we boil down the symbolism, the core message of the Iron Ring ritual, what are the key takeaways?
I'd say there are three main intertwined ideals you really need to grasp, especially thinking about professional practice.
Okay, number one.
Humility. The simple ring, the words of the obligation, they constantly remind you that even small errors can have huge consequences. You're not infallible.
Right, number two.
Responsibility. Wearing it on the working hand hammers home that your technical work has real-world impact. Your primary duty, always, is protecting the public interest. Public safety first.
Makes sense. And the third.
Continuity. The ritual itself binds the profession together. It connects new engineers to all those who came before and took the same pledge. It's about shared values over time.
And the shape, being a circle.
Yeah, the circular form, like any ring, symbolizes unity, wholeness. But here, it also represents that continuous loop of professional duty, learning, ethical practice.
Yeah.
It never really ends.
Okay, this is critical, though.
It's
voluntary, right?
absolutely vital point. The sources are crystal clear on this. Taking the iron ring is a personal, moral choice.
So if an engineer decides not to participate?
It has zero impact on their legal right to practice engineering in Canada. Zero. It's not tied to their P.eng license at all.
It's an internal standard, a personal commitment, not a legal barrier.
Precisely. Very important distinction.
But engineering isn't the only profession facing big risks and consequences. Geoscientists deal with huge uncertainties, too.
Absolutely. And they recognize the similar need. It took a bit longer, but about 50 years after the iron ring started.
1975, you said?
Yes, 1975. Geoscientists, specifically Philip Erdmer and Edward S. Krebs in Alberta, developed the Earth Science Ring ritual.
So a parallel path, but for geologists, geophysicists.
Exactly. It mirrors the spirit of the engineering ritual, that self-governance, ethical commitment, public duty idea, but it adapts the symbolism.
Adapts it how? To reflect the specific nature of geoscience.
Right. Geoscience is less about building things directly and more about interpreting the Earth, seeking truth from complex natural systems, responsible interpretation, resource stewardship, understanding hazards.
So the symbolism would need to reflect that difference. What's the Earth Science Ring like?
Well, first off, the material is different. It's made of silver.
Silver, signifying what? Purity, value.
Purity, strength, maybe the search for truth hidden within the Earth. It contrasts with the iron or steel's focus on, perhaps, mastery over materials.
Interesting. And does it have symbols on it? The iron ring is plain.
It does. It has engravings. Typically, you'll see the crossed hammer of geology.
Representing field work, collecting samples.
Exactly, the hands-on observation part. And alongside it, the seismic trace of geophysics.
Representing the interpretation side. Seeing what's beneath the surface, analyzing data.
Precisely. So the engravings symbolize that essential partnership in geoscience. Direct observation combined with interpreting complex, often unseen data, fieldwork and analysis together.
That makes a lot of sense. And they have their own pledge, too.
They do, the Earth Science Pledge, and it really highlights that duty towards truthful interpretation and careful assessment.
Is there a specific part you could quote?
Yeah, there's a line that really stands out. I will not pass false information or too casual interpretations in my work as an earth scientist.
Okay, see, that emphasis is different. It's less about preventing a structure from failing, more about preventing the failure of accurate interpretation or prediction.
Exactly. It shifts the focus from the consequences of faulty design to the consequences of faulty understanding or communication of Earth systems. Think resource miscalculations or underestimating geological risks.
So let's compare them directly then. We've got these two rings, two rituals.
Strong parallels, definitely. Both are voluntary personal commitments. Both mark a symbolic transition into the profession. Both involve mentorship, senior practitioners guiding new ones.
And both fundamentally emphasize ethical obligation, integrity, protecting public trust.
Absolutely. Those core values are shared. But the difference in their focus tells us something really deep about the distinct roles of the two professions.
You hinted at it. Mastery
versus harmony, maybe, or interpretation. The iron ring, with its plain steel and focus on consequence, reflects the engineer's primary role, designing and building artifacts for human use, structures, machines, systems. It symbolizes, in a way, mastery over materials and forces.
And the engineer is legally on the hook if that design thing fails, right?
Yes, accountability often centers on the safety and function of the construct.
Whereas the Earth Science Ring,
With its silver and symbols of observation and interpretation, it emphasizes the geoscientist's role, understanding, interpreting, and acting as a steward of natural systems. It symbolizes trying to achieve harmony with nature, or at least accurate understanding of it.
And their accountability centers more on...
On the accuracy of their interpretation, did they correctly assess the resource potential? Did they accurately map the geological hazard? It's about the reliability of their findings regarding the natural world.
That's a really helpful distinction. Mastery of the built versus interpretation of the natural.
It helps clarify their complementary but distinct responsibilities.
And this brings us back to a crucial point for anyone preparing for the NPPE. The absolute difference between these rings and the Code of Ethics.
Yes. Let's be explicit. The rings represent a moral commitment, a personal, voluntary pledge.
While the Code of Ethics is the legal requirement.
Exactly. The code is enshrined in provincial and territorial law. It's the enforceable standard if you violate the Code of Ethics.
There are serious consequences. Disciplinary action, fines, suspension.
Even losing your license to practice altogether, it has real teeth.
But breaking your ring oath. If you take the pledge and then act unethically.
From a formal legal standpoint, nothing happens. The professional association, the licensing body, won't discipline you specifically for breaking the obligation or the pledge. It carries no formal penalty in that sense.
But it would obviously undermine your personal integrity and maybe your standing among peers who took it seriously.
Absolutely. It's about personal honor and upholding the spirit of the profession. But legally, the power lies with the Code of Ethics.
So the rings don't replace the code.
Not even slightly. They complement it. Think of it as maybe regulatory synergy.
Synergy. How so?
Well, the code sets the minimum legal and ethical bar. The rings encourage practitioners to aim higher, to internalize those ethical principles.
To make ethical behavior a personal habit, not just something you do to avoid getting in trouble.
Precisely. It fosters a culture of integrity that goes beyond just compliance. It's about striving for ethical excellence as a personal and professional standard.
And that internalization, that visible commitment, probably helps the profession maintain its self-regulatory status too, right?
That's a key point. When the public sees professionals willingly taking these solemn, visible oaths, symbolically committing to humility and public service, it builds confidence.
And public confidence is the bedrock of self-regulation. If the public trusts the profession to police itself ethically,
then governments are more likely to let them continue doing so. The rings are a powerful signal of that internal commitment to ethical conduct.
Okay, let's bring this right up to today. How relevant are these decades-old traditions now in 2024?
More relevant than ever, I'd argue. Engineering and geoscience aren't just technical fields, they are fundamentally ethical vocations.
And the challenges today are huge. Climate change, sustainable resource management, aging infrastructure, complex energy transitions.
Exactly. The principles embedded in these rings, service, humility, public trust, careful stewardship, are absolutely vital for tackling these massive contemporary issues.
So the rings aren't just historical artifacts. They're daily reminders.
A daily check, yeah. A check on professional ego, maybe. A reminder that applying technical knowledge requires not just skill, but conscience.
A prompt to consider the long-term impacts, the public welfare, the sustainability of your work.
Yes. To uphold the dignity and critically the trust placed in the professions. They push practitioners to use their knowledge wisely and ethically.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. The big takeaway for our listeners, especially those focused on the NPPE.
You need to understand and manage two distinct but related tracks. First, the legally binding Code of Ethics, that's your non-negotiable baseline. Know it inside out.
And
Second, understand the role of the iron and earth science rings. Recognize them as powerful, voluntary moral compasses. They represent that personal, visible commitment that strengthens ethical practice and reinforces public trust. They're part of the profession's ethical culture.
the legal rules and the moral compass working together.
Exactly. And thinking about this model raises a broader question, maybe a provocative thought for you, the listener, to consider.
Go on.
Well, if these visible, symbolic, moral commitments have proven so valuable for engineering and geoscience in building trust and reinforcing ethics, how could other professions, maybe law, medicine, finance, tech, adopt similar kinds of visible pledges or symbols to strengthen their own ethical foundation and public accountability?
That's interesting.
Oh.
Could that model be adapted more widely?
Yeah.
Something definitely to think about in terms of professional responsibility across the board.
Food for thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us for this really essential deep dive into the ethical heart of Canadian professional practice.
My pleasure.
And if you found this breakdown useful, and you want more deep dives, more strategies, more essential knowledge to really set you up for success on the NPPE exam,
You know what to do.
please hit that subscribe button for the deep dive now. We're here to help you succeed. We'll see you next time.